100 centuries ago, as huge glaciers retreated from the region, people began to settle in the Pacific Northwest. They developed a rich culture in a terrestrial and marine environment that provided ample food and a forgiving climate. Much later, only 4 centuries ago, a Greek mariner nicknamed Juan de Fuca claimed to have found a broad inlet into the North American continent, which some people believed was the entrance to a passage connecting the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. Such a northwest passage would have been extremely valuable to the shipping trade of the European empires. In the centuries after Juan de Fuca told his tale, many of the voyagers who came to the Pacific Northwest searched for the fabled passage. 2 centuries ago, mariners from all over the world were making the first recorded visits to the Pacific Northwest region of North America. Russian explorers arrived from the north in search of valuable furs. Spanish expeditions came from the south to establish their kingdom and religion on the continent they claimed for their empire. Before their visits, no European had any idea what was in this region. Reports from these expeditions describing abundant furs and the possibility of finding the Northwest Passage attracted the French and the British to the region. Several British expeditions came to the Pacific Northwest hoping to earn an enormous prize of 20,000 pounds offered by the British Crown to the explorer who found the Northwest Passage, and to take advantage of the profitable otter pelts described by Captain James Cook. A fur trading captain could earn the fortune of a lifetime in a single trip to the Northwest. None of these explorers found the Northwest Passage. It doesn't exist. But they all found a country that was both beautiful and rich in natural and cultural resources. Each expedition explored and mapped the area it traveled through. Some of the names they gave to the places they explored are ones we still use today, and others are traditional native names. The expedition's claims to territory were based on a first-come, first-serve rule. Whoever first charted a place claimed it for his nation. From Boston, in the newly independent colonies, came the first American expedition to the Northwest. Financial backers on the Atlantic coast sent 2 vessels to look for valuable otter pelts to trade in China. Robert Gray commanded the Lady Washington, which sailed with the Columbia, commanded by John Kendrick. Gray and the Columbia made the first American circumnavigation of the globe, and Lady Washington, commanded by Kendrick, was the first American vessel to visit Japan. On his 2 voyages to the northwest coast between 1787 and 1793, Robert Gray traded with natives and explored the region extensively. Although he didn't find the legendary Northwest Passage, he did enter the Strait of Juan de Fuca. He was also the first non-native to enter Gray's Harbor and the Columbia River, the largest river on North America's west coast, and so took the privilege of naming the river for his vessel, the Columbia Rediviva. 100 years after Washington became a state, citizens decided to recreate part of the historical heritage of the region. To celebrate Washington's 100th birthday, they built a new Lady Washington. Historians and shipbuilders worked carefully to duplicate the original as closely as possible. The first step in building a wooden boat is to lay the keel, which is like the spine of the boat. The frames are attached to the keel the way that ribs are attached to a spine. They will support the shape of the ship. Knees connect the frames to the deck beams. These beams will support the deck. The outside and inside of the frames are covered with planks, forming a skin that keeps the water out and keeps the boat afloat. On top of the deck beams, the plankers lay the decks. Corkers seal up the deck and hull by filling the seams between the planks with a fiber called oakum and covering that with pine tar, making a watertight skin for the boat. The corkers on the Lady Washington sealed a full mile of seams. painters put a protective and colorful coating on the wooden hull. Meanwhile, the masts and yards are being formed and the sails are being made. Once the boat is built, it has to be moved out of the building and put into the water. March 7th, 1989, launch day, was a big celebration for everyone who helped build the boat.
Ray Munger, Paul Henry, Michael Jacobson, Pat Jones, Neil Leonard.
I now officially christen the Lady Washington.
Thanks, partner.
But there is still more work to do. The masts are stepped to the keel of the boat. Now the job of the rigger begins. Shrouds and stays are attached to hold the masts upright. The riggers then put together the system of lines, blocks, and spars that hold the sails in place. They haul the sails aloft and bend them onto the yards and raise the yards up onto the masts. All the 10 miles of line have to be put into place, and every part of the rig has to be tuned just right before the boat can sail. In May of 1989, the new Lady Washington was ready to set sail, using the same techniques that sailors used 200 years before on the original ship. In Gray's time, because there was no electricity, no hydraulics, and no diesel engine power, all the work on board had to be done by human power or by the wind. Today on the Lady Washington, the crew works together using the windlass to raise the anchor and get underway. Singing helps to lift the spirits and to keep a good working rhythm. It's the mate's job to call out the orders to the crew.
Okay, lay aloft and cast off your gaskets. Port gallant, port topsail, and the main topsail.
When it's time to sail, the sailors climb aloft to cast off the gaskets and free the sails from the yards.
Digger free.
Away!
It takes teamwork to do the heavy work on board. One of the sailors sweats a line while the other tails it. Working together, they haul up the yard.
Hi-lo, Bridget, hi-lo, I'll soon be taking you in tow. Hi-lo, Bridget. Okay, hands to the braces. That's fine. Well,
Once the sails are set, there may be time to relax for a while and to enjoy the ocean environment. Someone always has to keep a watch for any potential danger or obstacle. This sailor is standing bow watch. At journey's end, the command is given to douse the sails. Once more, the crew goes aloft to furl the sails snug to the yards and secure them with gaskets, ready for another day. Every year, the Lady Washington visits waterfront communities throughout the Pacific Northwest. She may be in your hometown soon. When you visit the boat, you'll have a chance to meet the crew and talk to them about life at sea in the days of the explorers and today. The maritime history of the Pacific Northwest belongs to all of us. Like the crew of the Lady Washington, each of us has an opportunity to be an explorer of the world we live in.